All right, hey there, we're back again. Podcast type of a feel, but not really a podcast. Joe, is this a continuation of the After Prison Show after the show's over and all of that good jazz that I tried to do with Dave? I don't think that it really is, but I know it's going to have that type of a feel. The reason that I'm doing it this way is because in some cases it is better to do it this way, to be able to get across the most information in a short amount of time, even though this is long form. Certain situations call for certain ways of filming. I say that because yesterday we did a boatload of filming, and this seemed to be the best way. So we continue this way. And when I say we, I once again have he who is Tom.
Hey, Joe. How you doing, buddy?
That was strong, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty strong.
Yeah, man. Hey, Tom, welcome back. By this time, I've probably shared the first video that we did like this, and I don't know necessarily what the comments will be like in regards to that. However, I am going to err on the side of caution and say that there probably are some pretty strong opinions about everything that was mentioned in relation to your son.
Of course.
So, with no former warning, I want to go there.
Okay, let's go there.
You don't have custody of your son. The mother is no longer involved in your son's life.
Correct.
How did y'all get there?
Wow. Okay, so I'm gonna try and condense this a little bit because there's a lot that happened. Probably let's start at the very beginning of how it evolved into where it's at now. Julian was born December 3rd. 21 days later, his mother chose to abandon him in the house to go smoke crack and go whore around with some guy. I was called at work. The police were there. CPS was there. They took my son. They attempted to, of course, lay criminal charges on me because they found narcotics in the house, or rather, I should say they found implements for narcotics use in the house.
What does that mean? Paraphernalia?
Paraphernalia, exactly.
For what? Heroin?
Needles? Needles, and crack stems.
Wow.
Yeah. And in which case, I wound up having to go down to CPS. I got a caseworker.
Let's back up real quick.
Sure.
I'm going to address every elephant in the room as this comes up,
Sure.
and feel free to answer or not answer.
Yeah.
They find paraphernalia in the house. You're at work when the child's left and abandoned. Are you getting high in the house?
No. I at this point in time, I wasn't even aware that she was getting high because I was taking her to the clinic. So at this point, I don't really know what had been transpiring. I'm working a job where I'm at work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I don't get off until 5. And when I get home, everything's fine, or at least it has the guise of being fine.
So you're blindsided by this.
I really didn't know. I mean, I knew that something was amiss.
You couldn't tell she was getting high?
I couldn't put my finger. No, because of the methadone. Because I know the problem with methadone is it gives you the effect of being high. It actually has you nodding out, slurring of speech, incapacitated when you're on methadone. And she was on a pretty high dosage, and I just chalked it up to that. And unfortunately, that was my own stupidity. I should have known better. I should have been a little more investigative, and I wasn't. Because I didn't want it to be that way. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I don't want my questioning to come across accusatorial.
Sure.
But I am just asking, okay, the methadone, that's one thing, but the crack stems, that's a totally different beast right there. Just weren't aware, no signs, you weren't seeing it, she was good at hiding it, whatever the case may be. You loved her, you've got your family, you're trying to be oblivious, maybe to a certain degree, you're not seeing the signs that are there.
Right. That's exactly what it was.
So regardless, 21 days after your child is born, she leaves the kid to go on to go get high. Mm-hmm. And you get a call at work that your child has been abandoned at the house. There's
Correct.
Drug paraphernalia in the house. They're trying to arrest you. And what happens?
So I talked to the police officer that's there, and I kind of explained to him basically what I'm explaining to you right now. Look, man, I'm at work. I don't know what happens when I leave to go to work. I didn't know, and you're finding this crap in places where I would never have looked for it. They found stuff in the bathroom hidden underneath the bathroom counter, the vanity. They found stuff hidden behind on the side of the refrigerator. And they found some stuff in we had a drop ceiling in the storage room. They found some stuff in the drop ceiling because apparently the tile was loose and they looked.
Why were they doing all of this looking?
Well, I'm assuming because of the fact that a neighbor had called in about the situation.
I mean, you would imagine they got a search warrant for this.
They did. They had a search warrant. So, and I, of course, immediately said, I don't have anything to hide. And I didn't. I didn't have anything to hide as far as I knew. And of course, like I was just saying, there was a neighbor that called in. Apparently, that neighbor had told them that there was traffic in and out of the house.
So the neighbor said this was a dope spot and there's a
Right,
baby in the house.
and there's a baby in the house. So that's where this all starts. I was then told to take a program called the Fathers in Training Program, which is a parenting class for troubled parents, for fathers specifically. And I was also instructed to participate in a drug program called New Life. And I did both. 16 weeks, I didn't have my kid. And I only got 1 hour visit once a week.
And where was your child with?
My child was with a foster family, which we'll get into that a little bit later because I want to discuss that as well because it turns out that actually was a godsend, believe it or not. I completed the program. I got custody back. I still had to do wellness check-ins. I still had to do the doctor visits and everything like that. All the stuff that you're supposed to do as a new parent. And I did all that. And I was doing everything. And in the meantime, I lost my house because of that incident. The homeowner came to me and said, hey, man, whatever the fuck it is you got going on in that house, you need to take it with you and get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
So, and of course I did. And I found a really nice place. I moved to the ocean front. I found a condo down there that I moved into that was affordable. And I set up home with my son. And I had my sister was helping me out. She was watching my kid. She was doing everything she could. She actually, at one point in time, came forward and said, hey, look, I will take your son. I will adopt your son and keep him at the house until you get on your feet, stable enough again, and get your shit together. And then you can have your kid back. And I had a lot of support. Unfortunately, I was still stuck in the mindset that I wanted my freaking family. I wanted my girl back. I wanted my girl back to take care of her kid, our son. I wanted a family. That's what I wanted. And I was blind and oblivious to the behavior and my own behavior.
I just got to say, addressing more elephants. There's going to be people who hear this and just call bullshit on all of this,
Of
right?
course.
You were actively involved in addiction is going to be a common thought.
Of course.
She was actively involved in addiction, and because of that, y'all lost your child.
Yes.
And regardless of what you say, that's what is going to be believed. So we just know that there were drugs involved. The child, y'all ended up losing the child.
Yes.
You had made mention in the video like this that we filmed the other day that never made it because I screwed up the footage. But you mentioned how toxic she was for you, you were for her. It was a no-win situation. You
Yes.
both were knee-deep in addiction, and even if you were clean during some point and she wasn't, it was just doomed to be just a constant cycle of addiction when you
Yes.
two were together.
Yes.
So she's back around after you have worked to try to get the child back.
Yes.
What happens from there?
And that point, that's when I get involved with the counterfeiting charges.
So drugs again.
Drugs again. I fall right back into it because, I love her.
No, you're an
No,
addict.
I'm an addict.
Yeah, you're an
I mean,
addict.
that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm getting at.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love her, but I'm an addict is what the problem is. And so I fall back into it. I get charged. This time, instead of being blindsided by CPS, the police, or anything else, I took the steps myself. When I found that I had warrants, I reached out to my caseworker at CPS and said, I am about to go to jail. I am definitely going to jail. I need someone to help me. I need you to help me. She reached out to the foster parents that he was with originally. I'm not going to mention their names.
No,
It's really not important. No. But these two people are amazing. When I say amazing, I mean these people are salt of the earth, good human beings, because they immediately said, we'll do anything we can to help him. However, if he's still associated with his son's mother, we'll not help him at all.
So, this is who adopts your child.
Correct.
Now, a lot of information shared right there, and there's going to be a lot of strong feelings about this. There's going to be people who think that you're full of shit and whatever. Or at least I think that there's going to be people full of shit, because when I hear what you're saying, Tom, it sounds like it could be full of shit, right?
Right.
But I want to play Dr. Phil for a moment and say this.
I'm the bald guy, though.
You are the bald guy.
Go ahead.
Sometimes when traumatic shit happens in your life, look at Tom, for example. Tom's a guy who has had a lifetime of trouble, 3 different trips to prison, probably not much good to show for in his life, unfortunately. And the best damn thing that ever happened to Tom was this child. And he was in the wrong place for that, right? He loved this child more than anything, but he was an active addict in a cycle of destruction, and it was not going to work. And then ultimately, Tom catches these charges. He's getting locked up. What am I trying to say? What I'm trying to say is this. Some of the ways that Tom is describing these events, I truly feel like we go through these traumatic experiences and we want to believe that they happened a certain type of way, maybe even if we're still oblivious to the fact of what it might have been. Tom mentions the girl comes back around, and, now I get wrapped back up in this. And, this was going to happen regardless. The addiction was there. It was going to happen regardless. And it was just the wrong thing. Y'all having the child, it was just, you were not fit to be parents. No matter what Tom has done and how bad it may seem, at least you did the right damn thing by the child, realizing that you were not fit and you weren't going to be there anyways because you were getting locked up. At least you reached out and tried to get this child in a safe environment.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Joe. So I knew that I was incapable and that I was going to be unable to do what I had to do for my son. I have no family. We'll go ahead and nip that into.
Well, you got a sister.
I have a sister who has 3 girls of her own. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt that was unfair.
For her to take
For
on a
her to
fourth
have
child.
to take on a 4th child and have to deal with that as well. Because I've put so many things on her in the past. And she's my younger sister. She's almost 25 years younger than me. So it was unfair, and she has her own life to live and her own children to raise. So I felt like what I did was the right thing. My son went into a household where the people absolutely adore him and love him. They keep him safe. He's in a good, safe environment with good people, and they're providing for him what I can't. And what I couldn't at the time and still can't right now, because I'm still working my way out of a hole that I created. I want to make sure that I say this as clearly as I possibly can. I created my problems. Nobody else did. I'm responsible for my own actions. So no matter what comments come across the board, you're not going to hurt me. You're not going to make me feel bad with caustic and hateful statements.
Well, I keep mentioning these things because one, maybe I'm calling it damage control. Regardless, here I go again, sharing something that could be so fucking detrimental to the person that it involves. I fully recognize how cautious this whole thing should be in terms of Tom sharing what's going on in his life, mainly involving his child. This is the second day of me filming with Tom, really wanting to showcase his story. Interestingly enough, I wanted his story to be based upon this idea that Tom is this really likable guy. Because what I know of Tom from being in prison, he's a really likable guy. He ain't a tough guy or a bad guy, but in the past, I've learned that he was. That was the idea that I had originally for this, but it just wasn't the right idea. I certainly found out and realized quickly that the right idea was, here's a guy who is a 3-time, prisoner of the state, going to prison 3 different times, getting this next and probably last opportunity at life to get it right, coming home with this motivating factor that is just unprecedented, and that is his child. How much his child means to him, and unfortunately just how screwed up the whole situation involving his child actually is. We went back and forth, or I went back and forth in terms of, do we share this? Do we not share this? Do we steer clear of this? And unfortunately, we just keep finding ourselves here and we're sharing this. So I want it to be known that I know how, dangerous this slope is right here, because, you're putting it all out there. And I don't want this to be cause for you to fall back into what you've known for so long. But the fact of the matter is regardless if you share this or not, it could potentially be cause for you to fall back into what you've known for so long, which is addiction.
Yes.
You come home with this renewed sense of purpose, and that purpose is your son.
Yes.
And wanting to reestablish a relationship with your son.
Right.
And when I hear about this, you lost your son, you put your son up for adoption, your son is with a foster family right now. My thinking on this is you're probably not going to be able to do that.
Right.
But there is a potential.
Yes, there is actually. So at the end of all of this, the situation with the son's mother and having him placed with this family, I was able to have, luckily, a very understanding attorney who worked with me, worked with the adoption liaison, and worked with the family, and agreed to an open adoption. It's referred to as a PACA agreement. And what that basically means, without explaining the acronym, is it's a contact agreement. It allows me to receive photos and updates, and also opens the door for me to be able to contact the family about visitation, supervised or otherwise. This is fantastic. This is wonderful. It is, of course, up to the family. It is their discretion, and I'm leaving it to their discretion. In any of the emails or conversations I've had with the family, I've expressed to them, I do not want to cause any type of stressor against my child. When he's ready, or you feel he's ready, or he starts asking those questions, I want to be available to answer those questions. I want to be available to provide whatever role you allow me to play in my son's life. I'm not so short-sighted or so narrow-minded or disgruntled or mad or upset or hurt that I would do anything to damage my son or the relationship he has with that family. It's important. The development of my son's childhood and growing up is essential to that. He has to have a good environment, a stable environment. I can't provide that right now, and I'm not stupid to think that I could do it. So that's why I have this motivation, Joe.
Okay, let me jump in here. I want to say this. you mentioned the agreement, the attorney drew up this agreement. Let me say, you shared this with me yesterday, and I found this to be really powerful. You were facing all of these counterfeiting charges. You were locked up, whether you're in the jail, not in the jail, whatever the case may be. You told me something about how you took the last of your money, and instead of getting a criminal defense lawyer,
Yes.
you got what?
I hired a custody attorney. I hired an attorney to represent me for the custody and the adoption. That was more important to me than my criminal case. To me, my son's way more important.
So again, these are some very important factors to consider when hearing what Tom shares in relation to this very, I couldn't even imagine. I could not even imagine something like this. Now, I'm hopeful for you that you are able to get what you hope comes from this, which is contact, which is, maybe reestablishing a relationship. But what if that doesn't happen?
Then I continue to be everything I can be to show that I am a good father, regardless of whether or not I'm with my son or not. I'm still a father.
I mentioned the conflict that I was having with myself about this situation and, whether or not this was even a good idea to share, showcase. But one of the things that was a positive in this, because there's a lot of negatives that can come from this. But one of the things that I thought was a positive was, regardless of how it plays out, there will be these videos that maybe he sees or maybe he never does see, but at least there's a video documentation that maybe you can see the passion that, Tom has for wanting to do better for his son, no matter what that situation is. Obviously, he's already made some pretty tough choices in regards to his child. I know that this is probably an impossibly tough topic to talk about. I'm glad that you were willing to talk about this, because if we're going to share your story and you are this open book, this is a big part of your story.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's a guy who has been a lifelong fuck up, like so many others of us have been. I was that before I decided to get my shit together. What was my motivating factor? Because I didn't have a kid. My motivating factor was I got to do this, because if I don't do it now, I never will. I hope that Tom realizes you got to do this.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it now, you never will.
I never will.
Thank God the girl's no longer around.
Phew.
And I don't mean that she died.
No, she's not dead.
There was a little dramatic pause right there. Like,
hey. Maybe. So I'm gonna say this though. I'm not saying that I don't want her, and when I'm referring to her, I'm referring to my son's mother. Even though she terminated her rights, walked away from the situation, absolutely walked away from our son altogether. I'm not saying that I'm not open to it. The issue is, legally, I don't believe that it's my responsibility to go outside of the wishes of the family that has my son.
I'll jump in here and say, absolutely hell to the nah, right? With as bad off as y'all two were together, and obviously the foster family doesn't want any dealings with the mother. I don't know. That's for her to figure out on her own without any involvement of you, because y'all two just ain't no good together.
Absolutely not.
I want to mention this. It's crazy to hear this from Tom and how touchy this subject really is, especially given the fact that, like, the last video that I did, one of the last videos that I did, involved a story that's actually just taking place recently, last week, the week before Christmas. It was December the 19th, as a matter of fact. A mother in Portsmouth took her 5-year-old son to Maryview Hospital, and her son had been dead for hours. And when asked by the nursing staff, hey, you been doing any drugs? Her comment was, I guess I've been with a dope man all night. And whether or not the child OD'd because of fentanyl, she said she was cutting up dope on her phone, on the coffee table. The child was dead. She took her child to the hospital, dead, and she's got a second-degree murder charge now amongst a long list of other charges. You hear stories like that, it's a miracle created by the hope that you can do something so similar to that particular story.
Agreed.
Tom, you're motivated in regards to your son. Get contact, get a relationship, and it's good to have that motivating factor. I hate to play devil's advocate, but what do you do, and I think I've already mentioned this, if that doesn't happen?
Right. So, and Joe, it's a fair question. It really is.
Because ultimately it's going to be up to these parents.
Right. It's going to be up to these parents. And so here's the thing. So this video format that we're using here, these videos that I'm participating in here, and the fact that I may actually be able to platform out and start my own. I would actually like to do a podcast myself personally. I'd actually like to get a podcast started.
You got the voice for it.
And well, thank you. I try. Wait a minute. Do I try? Anyway, but seriously, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have or leave something that there's a possibility that my son could see these things, and that's fantastic. I'm hoping that that's what it is. I'm hoping that it becomes a platform that I do for the next 10 years, and that I'm able to leave this legacy and anything that I get from this to my son. That's all. Whether it becomes a situation where I'm actually able to be active in my son's life or not, I still get to leave something to him. I get to leave either a video record of how I felt, my explanations for why and what I did. And to me, I think that's more important than anything else, because it's my son. Ultimately, it's my son. And I want to leave anything I can to him, whatever it is, other than bad memories. I want him to see the human side of me. I want people out there to see the human side of me. I'm fallible. I am not perfect by any means. I am.
I don't think anybody's going to think you're perfect, Tom. You ain't got to try to convince them.
Wait a minute.
Look,
have you seen his face? No.
Let me say this. You hear these stories a lot of people losing their kids because of, bad living conditions or drug addiction, whatever the case is. People lose their kids. It's rare to hear a parent explain their side of the story. It's rare to hear a parent own it, saying, hey, I was fucking up. I was a drug addict. I was, that's what happened. And CPS stepped in. They took my kid. And at least I reached out in the end to CPS and did the right thing by the child. I think that speaks volumes to the fact that even with the overshadowing black cloud that will surround your story, which is how, terrible that's going to sound to people, in the end, you tried to do the best thing that you could do for the child, and that was realizing that you could not yourself do the best thing for that child. Yeah. So you got that child into a safe environment.
Yes.
Look, you mentioned you want to do your own platform, and I got no problem helping you to do your own platform. But I also want to mention and forewarn you that this is not for everybody.
Right.
You mentioned the tough skin, and yeah, it definitely takes tough skin to be able to do this. But regardless, I don't want to sell you on the idea that it's not the thing to do. But regardless whether it is or it isn't, you bring so much to the table, being such a motivated person with this new lease on life, that regardless, you're going to do great things so long as you maintain your sobriety.
Right.
You're a hell of a worker. I should know. He's working with me doing the painting work. He comes with his own vehicle. He comes with his own tools. He comes and he wants to do work and get the work done. And he knows how to do a hell of a lot of things. Had I known Tom, or had he been around when I was doing the flip houses, he would have been a great asset to all of that. So whether it's this or whether it's something else, You know, you're going to do great things so long as you keep giving yourself the chance to do great things.
Right.
As soon as you call that dope man up, though, it's curtains.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason why. And I want to say something about that, Joe. I think it's important that I make mention of it. When I came home, I had access to all my phone numbers. You know, Google's wonderful. It has all your phone numbers, all your contacts. I went through my phone and I have deleted every human being that I knew that I got high with or that I bought drugs from, and I don't talk to any of them, and I don't care. And if somebody calls me up, which I've had 2 people contact me, one of my favorite things to do now is when they go, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I'm going, "Well, I'm going to a meeting here shortly. I was thinking if you're not doing anything, I'll swing by, pick you up. We can go hit an NA meeting together." I generally don't get a phone call back.
Yeah, that'll get them every time.
Generally,
There ain't no
don't get a phone
dope
call
mans
back.
there, or maybe they all are there, actually.
Right, yeah.
Tom, thank you for opening up and sharing about this. Look, we're going to move on in the next video. It's going to be a totally different feel. Regardless, you're going to hear more of Tom and get to see his personable side. Yeah, the man's been through some shit. He's got a shitty situation. But he's motivated to do better, and I truly hope that he will. And I truly hope you'll give this guy a fair shake. Everybody makes mistakes. Some people's mistakes are a lot harder to digest than others. But regardless, I still think he's a really good guy.
Thanks, Joe. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of people that have opinions about you, and I'm sure you know that. And you've told me a little bit about how people have shared their opinions and some of the things that they've done. And I've got to tell you, I don't see any of that. I don't judge people that way.
Well, that's because it's not true. Everything that
Right.
people say about me is just because, well, it's really them who are the problems.
Oh God,
Hey, look, it's not me.
that's not me.
It's you
him.
and your addiction and your bullshit
And
that
your
came along
bullshit.
with it.
Yes.
You know, that's why I do this at arm's length with you, Tom, because I guess am a cancer, and cancer likes to attract other cancers, and that just can't work out. I don't know what I'm trying to say here, other than, you know, I am a good guy to know, and I do try to do the best that I can, and I am also fallible. A new word. Just picked that up off of Tom from the Scrabble board right there.
Oh, wait until we play Scrabble.
Ooh, we could do a live stream
Live
playing
Scrabble.
Scrabble.
Y'all want to see me smoke him? Y'all want to see? I know you want to see me smoke him.
I thought you said you want to see me smoke in. I
Oh,
was like,
what?
geez, Tom,
No, what?
Put the.
What is
Anyways.
addictive behavior?
Look, thank y'all for taking the time to check this out, Tom. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely.
I know that this is, this was a tough one right here,
Yes.
but there's so much more that's going to come for you out here, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I'm going to try to help you in any way that I can, whether it's doing this or whether it's painting work or whether it's whatever the hell it is.
Right.
So, again, appreciate you doing this. If you could do me a favor, as we wrap this up, I want you to talk to everybody out there and leave them with any words that you would like to leave them with as a send-off here, because this was a tough one.
All right. So this is a wonderful platform, and I'm glad that I've been given the opportunity to speak to so many people. And a lot of you, I know you followed Joe from the very beginning. Heck, I was there for the very beginning, sort of. And it was a different thing. So this is what I think is important for me to say. Yes, I'm not perfect. Yes, I have made some horrible decisions and done some inexcusable things when it came to being a parent and being a person. But I've learned something, and I've had a new lease on life. I've been given an opportunity now to turn my life around, and with the help of the medicated assisted treatment and some counseling, talking to some people, and having some absolutely exemplary friends, I'm able to look anyone in the eye and say, I'm wrong, or I made a mistake, and not crucify myself for it. So that's what I want to leave all of you with. Don't crucify yourself or judge yourself too harshly. Learn how to be kind. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I've said it to Joe. Kindness doesn't cost anything when you really mean that you're being kind. It's a free thing. To be kind is simple. It's easy. Just try it out. Try and do something nice. Just be kind. It's that simple. Thank you, Joe, for letting me share. I really appreciate it. It gives me an opportunity to voice some of the issues that are going on in my life. It gives me an opportunity also to feel like I'm doing the right thing and going in the right direction for a change. And that is unbelievably important to me. And I can't thank you enough for that. And I can't thank y'all enough for sticking around and watching and listening to me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate you sharing. There's going to be a lot more that comes with Tom. I'll be looking forward to sharing that with y'all and doing updates as well once we've shared Tom's story. Y'all let me know what you think. I truly hope this was a video you found some interest and entertainment from. That's probably the wrong thing to say because this wasn't all of that. But I truly hope this was a video you guys enjoyed. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted and make the most of every day. Peace!